I throw out the topics, and then he gives you a scale of where they fall on the freak out factor.
Freak out factor.
What's your freak out factor? One of our favorite games.
Freak out factor. Freak out factor. Freak out factor.
You have to be very careful in how you say freak out factor.
Freak out factor. Freak out factor scale.
Freak out or no? What's your
freak out factor? Freak out factor. Freak out factor. If ever time to freak out, Anthony Castrovince, it is September. Let's get to work. And by us, I mean you. Good morning. I keep watching that video of Shohei Ohtani kind of grab his oblique over and over again in batting practice the other day. This is right after his agent addressed the media about the elbow. What's your level of concern right now? Here it is. I can't even watch it. What did you think when you saw this?
You know, it's been a fantastic season for Shohei Ohtani, but to see it, trending towards an ending the way it has in recent weeks with the UCL injury and now this, and that video is hard to watch. That's a 10 out of 10 on the freak out factor scale. I think that's pretty clear. That's also how many games he's played without a home run. And, he's trying to do something no one's ever done before physically, and I think we're seeing the result of that here in recent weeks. And, his agent, Nez Balelo, did speak with the media just prior to that, so it was a busy day on the Ohtani front. And what his agent said is that he does need some sort of procedure. What that procedure is, we don't yet know. And it could be, a Tommy John. He said doesn't necessarily have to be Tommy John, but it could be that. It could be a repair. It could be a reconstruction. It could be a hybrid of the two. That's something that's kind of come in vogue here of late. But he really stressed that Ohtani plans to be the two-way Ohtani we know and love at the very beginning of the 2024 season, to be able to produce as a hitter while he is rehabbing as a pitcher. Some people are skeptical of that, Lauren, because what is best for his elbow would probably be a longer recovery process that might not involve hitting. So, he's going to be the most fascinating free agent of all time, even before all these injury issues cropped up. And now, you're in another level, another realm where we're all kind of bracing ourselves for, what is this procedure going to be? Because we're all rooting for this guy to be able to do the amazing things he does on the field. He's probably already wrapped the AL MVP for this year. But, it might be best at this point to shut it down and start the process of getting that elbow back to full speed.
Yeah, we're sharing the same thought. I was just thinking this offseason is going to be fascinating surrounding him in a different way than we thought maybe 2 months ago. Anthony D. always talks about the back of the baseball card, and for Lucas Giolito, It's been awesome. When you watch him pitch lately, what stands out to you?
Man, this guy's been flying around the country from, sub 500 team to sub 500 team and been put in difficult circumstances. And, he got rocked in his Guardians debut here in Cleveland yesterday. And an odd statistical tidbit there where he became the first pitcher in the modern era to give up 8 or more runs in a start for 3 different teams in a season, Lauren. The last to do that was Bill McGee back in 1899 for your Louisville Colonels, Philadelphia Phillies, and Washington Senators. So that's a long time ago and a difficult start for Giolito. And, a difficult outcome for a Guardians team that at the trade deadline, they sold their lone healthy veteran starting pitcher in Aaron Savali when they're just a game back of the Twins. Then they're sitting 5 games back, and this waiver palooza kind of revealed itself with the Angels, putting nearly a quarter of their roster on waivers. And suddenly the Guardians, put in claims for Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez and Matt Moore, and hoping to make a late push here in their final series against the Twins, but obviously got off to a brutal start. They get rocked 20-6. David Fry is a utility man for them, ends up pitching 4 innings. So it doesn't look like that AL Central race will be resuscitated, but you almost feel bad for Giolito. He's obviously struggling right now to find it, but he's also been put in difficult circumstances and just jumping from team to team.
He'll certainly come out on the other end. By the way, your tone when you talk about the Guardians is the exact same Robert has when he talks about his Houston Astros, am I right? Even after they won the World Series. Anthony, we have a Zoom call every morning, and it's the first thing that we talk about is the most pressing. I find it fascinating, and this morning it was about Bruce Bochy's body language. They're like, how the heck are they going to close games? His head in his hands, kind of when the camera pans to him towards the dugout. What is your freakout factor on the Texas Rangers and how they're going to navigate into October and even to get there?
Yeah, it's hard. His body language says a lot, and so does the bullpen performance. 9.17 is our freakout factor because that's the bullpen's ERA so far in this month of September. It's only 4 games, but this has been a brutal stretch really for this club going back to August 16th. That was the start of an 8-game losing streak. They've lost 13 of 17 in that span. 3 of the 4 wins were by just 1 run. So they are really just, skin of their teeth every night. And you see the bullpen numbers there. It's just flat out ugly. They haven't been hitting as well, in the stretch going back to the middle of August. Hitting 226 as a team. Pitching staff has a 5.19 ERA as a whole in that span, but it's really on the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman was an early grab for them at the trade deadline. He struggled of late, 7 walks, 7 runs allowed in his last 5 2/3 innings. And then they have to watch the guy that gave up for him, Cole Reagans, who's been like the best pitcher on the planet out of nowhere for the Royals. So been a really tough stretch for the Rangers, and they're only a game back in the AL West, but it just feels like it's kind of slipping from their hands, and they're only a half game up on the Blue Jays for that final wild card spot.
We were looking at Cole's numbers. He wasn't that when he was in the Texas organization, but still, it must be so difficult for them to watch it. Rangers in a postseason spot. Giants are not. I had to double check because the National League wildcard standings changed by the day as of yesterday. They were in 4 straight losses. Is there something to it, Anthony, or just a blip?
Well, there's something to it. They're 6 games under 500, and that's our freakout factor, 6. 6 games under 500 in the second half. It's not a full freak out because, there's 4 teams vying for that final NL wildcard spot. They all have negative run differentials. I don't know that any of them's going to, run away and hide with this thing. They'll probably all have fits and starts in these last few weeks, and it should be pretty neck and neck down the stretch. But the Giants are clearly not asserting themselves in this race. And in the second half, this offense is kind of strange, Lauren, where they strike out a ton, but without any power. It's supposed to be the trade-off is you take the strikeouts with the power. They have no power. They have 39 home runs as a team in the second half. Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies has 18 home runs by himself in the second half, to put that in perspective. They're hitting 214 in the second half. That's the worst in baseball. So they've got some decent pitching. It's hard to piece it together some nights, but there's so much pressure on that pitching staff because the offense is just not generating any activity whatsoever. Even when they're on the base paths, they don't run particularly well. So they've got to get it going offensively if they're going to come out with that spot. But as I said, all those teams have some sort of flaw, and that's the Giants is the offense.
Kyle Schwarber's Phillies have the first wild card in the National League. Flawless, maybe. Of all the National League wild card teams, you could say that about the Philadelphia Phillies. Anthony Castrovince, we appreciate it, sir.